All right, you are live, and let's share the screen. Okay, new decision. Moving forward, we'll be using Grok. Let's see how this turns out. Perfect. What are we talking about? What is Bitcoin? Let's see. So, 2 years ago, I went through this entire hmm, book called The Bitcoin Standard, right, by Saifuddin. And that really helped me understand a lot of things about the history of money and why Bitcoin is better money. But it's been a long time. Let's see, there have been lot of changes, and Bitcoin has hit 100K. So let's understand new things. Let's see if there's anything new that we have missed out on. Decentralized digital currency, also known as cryptocurrency, that operates on a peer-to-peer network without a central authority or intermediary like a bank. Creation, introduced in 2009 by an anonymous person on Grok using pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. The white paper is titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, blockchain. Transactions are recorded on a public ledger called the blockchain. It is maintained by a network of computer nodes that validate and record transactions in blocks, which are then added to the chain. New bitcoins are created through a process called mining, where participants use computational power to solve complex mathematical problems. This process also secures the network by verifying transactions. Miners are rewarded with bitcoins for their efforts. There will only ever be 21 million bitcoins in existence, which makes it deflationary by design. The supply is controlled by the protocol, which halves the mining reward approximately every 4 years in an event known as the halving. Transactions. Users can send and receive Bitcoin via addresses, public keys, using cryptocurrency wallets. Transactions can be sent directly between users or facilitated through various services and exchanges. I pretty much have an idea about the basics of Bitcoin, but what I'm really curious about how it has suddenly become politically relevant. What are the new technology updates, and what are companies? What are people? What is the mass market not doing about Bitcoin? How are they thinking about Bitcoin? Because definitely the public perception has changed in the past 2 to 3 years, specifically in the past 4 months, let's say. Pseudonymity. While transactions on the blockchain are public, the identities of the users are not directly linked to their Bitcoin addresses, offering a degree of privacy but not complete anonymity. Adoption and use. Bitcoin has seen varying levels of adoption. Some businesses accept it as payment, though it's more commonly used as an investment or speculative asset. Regulation. Regulatory perspectives of Bitcoin vary widely around the world, with some countries embracing it and others imposing strict regulations or bans. Interesting. Hmm. Hmm. What are some latest interesting facts about Bitcoin? This is where X or Twitter shall help us a lot because of how it could look at tweets. Security. Security relies on cryptographic methods, but it's not immune to risk like hacking, especially on exchanges or through personal wallet mismanagement. Regulation vary worldwide. Criticism. It faces criticism for its environmental impact due to energy-intensive mining process, its volatility, potential use in illegal activities, and its scalability issues leading to high transaction fees during peak times. It's very interesting how all these criticisms also apply to money. Environmental impact due to energy-intensive mining process. We print a lot of money, paper, where we are basically it's paper. So where does paper come from? The forest, the trees. And then you are now transporting that money, that physical cash around the world through trucks to the banks. And then people go to drive to the banks, walk to the banks, and get from there. So much energy is being used in that entire distribution process as well. Potential use in illegal activities. Cash is used in illegal activities, and its scalability issues due to high transaction fees. Hmm. Again, it's not scalable. Like if I have cash over here and I need to send someone cash even in a different city, a lot of things have to go through it, and that's the reason why we went into online money. And then from online money, now we just want that online money to be borderless and even more secure, which means that it's not like a online money that is restricted, like all the rules and regulations only work in this one country and suddenly you cannot use that money outside. And then you have to pay a lot of forex fees, and forex fees is volatile. So doesn't Bitcoin make sense? Interesting. There has to be a head-to-head comparison. I believe somebody would have done this head-to-head comparison between Bitcoin and fiat. Exactly, in terms of how energy intensive both of them are, how volatile both of them are, potential use in illegal activities, scalability issues. Hmm. Bitcoin seems like a technology that could be improved and made more scalable, but you cannot really scale cash. Interesting. All right, so what are the latest interesting facts about Bitcoin? Market cap and ETF developments has been hovering around 100K, which is still significantly less than gold's market cap, but BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has surpassed their gold ETF in size, indicating a notable shift in institutional investment towards Bitcoin. Indicating a notable shift in institutional investment towards Bitcoin. Interesting. Hmm. Bitcoin is casually hovering around 100K, still just 10% of gold's market cap. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has now surpassed their gold ETF in size, a quiet yet historic shift. Interesting. Speculation of Trump pushing for a US strategic Bitcoin reserve continues, where Texas has already front run the federal government with tabled legislation. Public companies aren't waiting around either. They are absorbing available supply while others watch from the sidelines. Even AMD Supers is reportedly allocating into Bitcoin, and institution adoption is no longer hypothetical. At some point, most people are skeptical. At some point, most people are skeptical about Bitcoin. Then they understand the difficulty, adjustment, and the absolute scarcity of 21 million coins. They realize the compelling proposition for storing wealth across time and space, a concept that is becoming increasingly valuable in today's world. Interesting. Very interesting. Global recognition. There have been recent acknowledgments of Bitcoin's role in the global economy. For instance, the US Treasury referred to Bitcoin as digital gold, and Russian President Putin has acknowledged that Bitcoin cannot be banned. Hmm. The US Treasury referred to Bitcoin as digital gold. Very interesting. Okay, let's check that. There's also a proposal by Russian State Duma deputy for creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Russia. In the past week, US Treasury referred to Bitcoin as digital gold. Russian president said nobody can ban Bitcoin. Russian state Duma deputy proposed creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Russia. Amazon shareholders called on its board to consider investing in Bitcoin. This is actually crazy. This is really crazy. If you have a lot of cash in your reserve, if you are a public company, you have a lot of cash in your reserve, the best thing you could do with it is just put into Bitcoin. Crazy. Microsoft is having a vote today, December 10, okay, to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We are in a Bitcoin arms race. Countries and companies will try to accumulate as much BTC as they can. Whoever buys the most Bitcoin wins. Interesting. Analysts have noted that there has this year has seen significant capital inflows into Bitcoin, highlighting the growth in institutional and retail interest. This capital flow isn't fully captured by just looking at price and market cap, indicating a deeper penetration of Bitcoin into financial systems. Hmm. Significant capital inflows into Bitcoin, highlighting the growth in institutional and retail interest. This capital flow isn't fully captured by just looking at price and market cap, indicating a deeper penetration of Bitcoin into financial systems. There's a growing trend among countries to consider or implement strategic Bitcoin reserves. At least 4 new countries have greenlit such reserves. So Russia, US, kind of. Okay. I know in the city of Vancouver, the mayor has been talking about holding Bitcoin, and there's talk about a G7 of Bitcoin nations, which it should call B7, Bitcoin 7 nations. That would be really cool. That would be really cool if we have a B7. Which shows a shift in how nations are viewing Bitcoin as part of their asset portfolio. Let's see. At least 4 new countries. Who is this guy? David Bailey. Whoa, Grok can now give you profile summary. Okay. At least 4 new countries have greenlit a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is happening. This is happening. G7 of Bitcoin has evolved from a joke to serious concept very quickly. What is this? Explain this post. Whoa, whoa. What happened to this guy? Okay. I'm using a Chrome extension, so this thing isn't working as it should work. Okay. The head of countries forming a G7 signifies a strategic move by nations to position themselves within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, potentially enhancing their economic influence or stability. The meme Bitcoin superpower highlights the scarcity of Bitcoin, emphasizing the competitive nature of acquiring it as a reserve asset, which could be why countries are rushing to establish the reserves. Okay. Now, how do I close this? I don't know. Bitcoin superpower is a very powerful meme, and there is just not enough BTC for everyone to be one. Interesting. Hmm. Okay, we were here. High-profile endorsements. Donald Trump has been mentioned in connection with Bitcoin, calling for a 150,000 valuation, and major financial institutions like BlackRock are advising a 2% Bitcoin allocation in portfolios. This reflects a growing acceptance and integration of Bitcoin into traditional finance. There's an anecdote where a seller declined an offer of 13 million for their property paid in Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was much less valuable. Those 50,000 Bitcoins are now worth around 5.08 billion, showcasing Bitcoin's potential for substantial appreciation. Crazy, crazy. Wait, what is this? Oh, okay, I need to fix my Chrome extension so we can see. Let's see, extension close. Perfect. I believe now we will be able to see things how things should be. But yeah, my original, yeah, my original one was much cleaner. This is definitely not so clean. Okay. Let's see. The story is really cool. Okay. Fun fact, Bitcoin is up 39,000% since seller declined a 13 million offer for the property paid in BTC. 50,000 Bitcoin now valued at 5.08 billion.
I'll be totally honest with you, Ryan. That's not even the biggest problem.
Okay.
This offers $1 million below ask.
Right. At the end of the day, you just have to look at gross value. We're asking $14 million for a 2-bedroom apartment.
This is so cool. This is so cool. Imagine turning on 30 million Bitcoin only for it to be worth 5.08 billion now. Big lesson in the unpredictability of crypto markets. Wow, these guys would be feeling so bad right now that they said no to $5.08 billion. Crazy, crazy. Okay, let's go back. Fixed supply versus gold. Unlike gold, where new discoveries can dilute the supply, El Salvador's recent $1 trillion gold deposit discovery, new discoveries can dilute the supply, right? Bitcoin supply is strictly limited to 21 million coins by its protocol, providing a unique attribute in asset scarcity. This is interesting. Okay. Tell me more. Because gold pretty, so from what I heard, gold pretty much, humans have pretty much found out all the gold, which is obviously not, which doesn't make sense, but the book said that humans have pretty much found out all the gold deposits, and now it has just become extremely hard to find new deposits, and that's the reason why gold maintains its price. But if we can just randomly find $1 trillion deposit, that totally makes sense. That will deflate or inflate. That will deflate the price of gold. And else, this is interesting. El Salvador found this because El Salvador, again, they also put, let's check how much money they put into Bitcoin, but they have a Bitcoin reserve. Garnered significant attention due to claims by President Nayib Bukele that the country has discovered gold deposits potentially worth up to 3 trillion. I think this might also be a conspiracy because they hold, I think that's one of the only countries that today has a Bitcoin reserve. And to make their Bitcoin price go up, they kind of have they could, I'm just, this is a guess, but they might float this conspiracy that we have found $1 trillion gold deposit, which would make the market lose their confidence in gold and increase their portfolio, increase the price of the Bitcoin they are holding, increase their portfolio. That would be interesting if this is a conspiracy, but okay. Gold deposits. President Bukele announced that El Salvador might have the largest gold deposits per square kilometer in the world. These deposits are located within the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area known for its volcanic activity and rich mineral deposits. Economic impact. Bukele has argued that mining just 4% of these deposits could yield approximately billion, equivalent to 380% of El Salvador's current GDP. If fully exploited, these reserves could represent over 8,800% of the GDP, offering a massive potential economic boost. Interesting. Hmm. If Nayib Bukele, if El Salvador is going all in on Bitcoin, and if their goal is that everything we do, the simple algorithm we operate by is buy more Bitcoin, then they would mine this gold, sell that gold, and leverage and put all that money back into buying Bitcoin. But let's see if they are going to do that. Mining ban. Since 2017, El Salvador has had a ban on metallic mining to protect its water resources from pollution. Okay, definitely there's an environmental impact to it. This ban was a landmark decision as El Salvador became the first country to implement such a comprehensive ban. Hmm. That's interesting. If El Salvador starts holding a lot of Bitcoin, which basically means that El Salvador's government treasury is holding Bitcoin, then if then we might get into the old era where someone more powerful, bigger army than El Salvador would just annex the country and just take their pen drive, which hold their private keys for the Bitcoin wallet. This is crazy. Okay. Wow. This ban was a landmark decision as El Salvador became the first country to implement such a comprehensive ban. However, Bukele is now advocating for lifting this ban to exploit the gold reserves, citing sustainable mining practices. Obviously, he wants to exploit the gold reserve. He wants to sell that gold. He wants to get those hundreds of billions of dollars and then buy Bitcoin. There is a significant opposition from environmentalists, religious groups, and local communities who fear the environmental damage that mining could cause, particularly concerning water pollution and ecosystem degradation. Use of chemicals like cyanide and mercury in mining has been a focal point of concern. This is interesting. It is definitely very bad for the environment, but if Bitcoin is the goal, that could really incentivize sustainable mining practice. Let's see what happens over here. Political context. Bukele's push to repeal the mining ban comes at the time when he holds a significant majority in Congress. Okay, so the ban was there, but he has a lot of power to lift the ban, which could facilitate changes to existing laws. Critics worry about the implications for democracy and the environment if mining is resumed. Bitcoin connection. There has been discussion on social platforms about El Salvador potentially converting these gold reserves makes sense into Bitcoin, leveraging the country's pioneering role in adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. However, this remains speculative as no official policy has been announced. Public and international reaction. The claim has sparked a range of reactions from skepticism about the actual size and feasibility of mining these reserves to concerns about the environmental impact. There's also discussion regarding how this might influence El Salvador's geopolitical standing and economic strategy, hmm, particularly in light of its Bitcoin adoption. Very interesting. Very interesting. We have to quickly check one thing before we resume the stream, and now we can resume. Okay, perfect. Hmm. What are actually, let's before Michael's here, let's go to Microsoft. Did Microsoft approve holding a Bitcoin reserve? Let's see. No. Microsoft shareholders did not approve holding a Bitcoin reserve. The proposal to evaluate Bitcoin as part of Microsoft's treasury was rejected by shareholders. The board has recommended voting against the proposal, citing concerns about Bitcoin's volatility and need for stable, predictable investments for operational funding. Interesting. Michael Saylor, obviously. Shareholders reject the proposal for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. In 5 years, you will understand everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve. BTC doesn't wait, it simply transfers wealth to those who see. In 5 years, they will understand everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve. BTC doesn't wait, it simply transfers wealth to those who see. Microsoft shareholders reject the proposal to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Microsoft signals potential interest in other cryptocurrencies despite rejecting Bitcoin reserves. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood, the board has already and will continue to evaluate digital assets for the reserve. Very interesting. Very interesting. Hmm. What nations are planning to hold a Bitcoin reserve? Either planning or have shown interest in establishing a Bitcoin reserve. US legislation has been introduced, notably by Senator Cynthia Lummis, proposing a strategic Bitcoin reserve where the US would acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. Donald Trump has also expressed support for this idea. Would acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. That is crazy. It is going to get more and more and more expensive. That is going to get really expensive if you do that over 5 years and your goal is 1 million, which is what? 5%. Just about 5% of the entire Bitcoin in circulation. Japan. A Japanese lawmaker named Satoshi Hamada has proposed the creation of national Bitcoin reserve, and there's been discussion about diversifying the country's foreign reserves into Bitcoin. Brazil proposed a bill for strategic Bitcoin reserve known as RESBIT, Sovereign Strategic Reserve of Bitcoins, aiming to diversify the country's international assets. Russia. Russian lawmakers to consider Bitcoin as part of the nation's reserve assets, particularly as a hedge against geopolitical risk and sanctions. Poland. Presidential candidate Slavomir Menzin has advocated for a strategic Bitcoin reserve as part of his platform. El Salvador already holds a Bitcoin reserve, having made Bitcoin legal tender in 2021 and continues to accumulate Bitcoin for its treasury. El Salvador is winning over here. They are winning. I think when they went all in on holding a Bitcoin reserve, that definitely felt like a contrarian move. I never thought that I never thought this should be a good idea. I didn't yeah, I wasn't supportive of it. I wasn't sure if that was a good idea. But now the world is moving towards it. US is moving towards it. Bhutan, known for its hydroelectric resources to mine Bitcoin, they have a significant Bitcoin reserve, positioning itself as a green Bitcoin mining nation. Interesting. A green Bitcoin mining nation. Texas. Legislation was introduced in the Texas House of Representatives for creating a Bitcoin reserve following similar discussions in other states like Pennsylvania. Wow. This is really cool. When one state is like, we have so much conviction and we want to move fast. We don't want to wait for the entire country to pass a legislation and slow us down. Japan is considering strategic Bitcoin reserve. The person who proposed it is named Satoshi. We are going higher. This is actually cool. This is actually cool. Countries pushing a Bitcoin national reserve. Whoa. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Switzerland, Singapore, Nigeria, Venezuela, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, El Salvador, Panama, Zimbabwe, Cuba, Central African Republic. Interesting. Interesting. How many Bitcoins do El Salvador and Bhutan own? Really curious. Let's see. Whoa. El Salvador holds approximately 6,000 Bitcoins. The country has been actively buying Bitcoin since it adopted it as legal tender in September 2021, and it also engages in mining activities. In 21, in 6,000 Bitcoin. So their portfolio has 5x right now. Bhutan has accumulated around 13,000 Bitcoins. Bhutan's Bitcoin reserves are primarily from mining operations leveraging the country's abundant hydroelectric power. This is crazy. This is crazy. What is the current value of Bhutan's happen? Yes. 1.9 billion. And what is Bhutan's GDP? Wow. Wow. Okay. Bhutan's GDP for 2022 was approximately 2.9 billion USD. And now one third of that is just Bitcoin. According to projections and the latest available data, Bhutan's GDP for 24 is estimated to be around 3.15. Really cool. Bhutan has now generated 1 billion BTC using previously stranded hydropower resources. Bhutan GDP 3.15. Royal Government of Bhutan, Druk Holdings. The small kingdom Bhutan uses hydropower to mine Bitcoin and apparently now has 900 million worth. That's about 30% of Bhutan's GDP. So in US terms, it would be around 9 trillion worth of Bitcoin. It's really cool that you can just see this data. Royal Government of Bhutan. Wow. Wow. While most governments are trying to regulate Bitcoin, Bhutan has been quietly mining and stacking BTC. They now hold 13,000 BTC. Once BTC hits Sater's projection of 13 million per coin, their hodl stack will be worth 170 billion, which is 1700% more than their total 2022 GDP. India GDP 4 trillion. Bhutan 18 billion. RBI owns Bitcoin 0. Kingdom of Bhutan 13,000, worth 780 million, making it one of the largest sovereign holders of digital assets according to Bitwise Europe. Really cool, really cool. Where who exactly owns and controls the Bitcoin reserve and its private keys? This is crazy. Like, if you have 13,000 Bitcoins, US is planning for 1 million. If you have 13,000 Bitcoins, now your biggest attack vector is the private keys. And if you are a government organization, the private keys is pretty much like the nuclear codes of the country. Wow. Primarily managed by Druk Holding and Investments. This is Bhutan's state-owned investment arm, which oversees the country's strategic investments, including the Bitcoin mining operations. DHI has been the entity responsible for Bhutan's Bitcoin accumulation through mining activities. Ultimately, the Bitcoin reserve is under the control of the Bhutanese government, as DHI operates on behalf of the government to manage national assets. This is very interesting. Security and management. The private keys to Bhutan's Bitcoin reserves are likely managed with stringent security measures given the value and significance of these assets. However, exact details on how the keys are stored, secured, and who has access to them are not publicly disclosed for security reasons. Makes sense? Custodianship. Whether third-party custodial services are used or if the keys are held entirely in-house. Given the importance and value, one can infer that there are multi-signature or other advanced security protocols in place to safeguard these assets. Really cool. DHI is the entity managing Bhutan's Bitcoin holdings, some suggesting that these holdings are now on platforms like Arkham for tracking purposes. Really cool. Really cool. 9 post. Now on Arkham, the tiny kingdom of Bhutan secretly held millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. Nebulous Sovereign Wealth Fund DHI appears to be the first to directly own Bitcoin. They also defaulted on a 30 million loan from BlockFi, resulting in a liquidation of 1,800 Bitcoin. Interesting. CZ met with the king of Bhutan, picture on the left. The government of Bhutan currently owns 12,000 BTC. Oh, they had a liquidation of around 2,000 Bitcoin last year. Interesting. Drug holding and investments. Pivotal entity in Bhutan's economic landscape, serving as the commercial investment arm of the royal government of Bhutan. Founded, established in 2007 through royal charter by His Majesty the King of Bhutan. Mission: manage the existing and future investments of the royal government for the long-term benefit of the Bhutanese people, aiming to transform Bhutan into a globally competitive economy while adhering to the principles of GNH, gross national happiness. Portfolio companies. 20 companies across various sectors like manufacturing, energy, national resources, finance, communication, aviation, trading, and real estate. DHI owned companies fully owned by DHI. DHI holds 51% of more shares. DHI has a stake below 51%. Controlled, linked, owned. innovation, sustainability, global investments, digital assets. Bitcoin mining, Bhutan's hydroelectric power for mining, accumulating a significant reserve of Bitcoin. Bhutanverse launched a metaverse platform to promote Bhutan's culture and attract global investors and artists. National digital identity, developing Bhutan's national digital identity system on a blockchain framework. Contribution to economy, companies contributing around 40% to government revenues through dividends and taxes and about 20% to Bhutan's GDP. Ministry of Finance, sole shareholder of DHI ensuring alignment with national interest. Governance and oversight, Ministry of Finance, sole shareholder of DHI ensuring alignment with national interest. Corporate governance, DHI promotes best practices in corporate governance across its portfolio companies, including the appointment of capable and diverse boards. There's been a focus on investing in future-oriented sectors, including health tech, biotech, and digital assets. Really cool. Really cool. What are the latest predictions about Bitcoin by Michael Saylor? Let's see what we get. MicroStrategy, notably bullish on Bitcoin, long-term price prediction, 13 million per coin by 2045. Made an ambitious long-term forecast suggesting that Bitcoin could reach 13 million per coin by 2045. This is based on his view that Bitcoin will represent 7% of the world's capital in a base case scenario, with a potential bear case of 3 million and a bull case of up to 49 million. This prediction is rooted in the belief in the role as a digital store of value, potential against fiat, endless upside potential because fiat currencies have endless downside potential. He's reiterated that Bitcoin's price will continue to rise against the US dollar, highlighting its scarcity and growing institutional adoption. He would be buying Bitcoin at $1 million a coin and probably be buying it at the rate of $1 billion a day, indicating his unwavering confidence in its future value. You'd be buying Bitcoin at $1 million a coin and probably buying it at the rate of $1 billion a day. Advocated for nations to adopt Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. I think the moment he promotes, what's the right word? He gets major countries to adopt Bitcoin as a reserve asset, that's when there's a step function change in the price. Predicting its role in reducing budget deficits for countries like the US if adopted in this capacity. Budget deficits. He's dismissed concerns about Bitcoin falling to lower price levels like 60,000 or 30,000, instead predicting that the price would continue to rise from current levels. Often accompanied by his advocacy for its unique properties, including fixed supply, which contrasts with the inflationary nature of fiat currencies. His company has one of the largest corporate holdings of Bitcoin, which underscores his commitment to predictions. Yeah, the second one might have been Tesla, but Tesla, again, they sold because shareholders were like, this is introducing a lot of volatility. How much, I'm actually curious, what would that be worth today? So how much Bitcoin did Tesla hold? That would be interesting. Oh, what? Tesla holds. Oh, Tesla already holds. Did they buy? Tesla did not sell any Bitcoin in Q1 2024. Tesla owns 643 million. This is April. So right now, 11,000 should be close to $1 billion. 1 billion, yeah. The second largest BTC corporate treasury after MicroStrategy. Perfect. Wait, this news is old. Tesla still holds 10,000 Bitcoin worth 85 did not sell anyone Q4 2023. October 2022. Okay. Tesla still owns 776 million after wallet rotation last week. Tesla holds 11,000 Bitcoin. October 22. Okay. 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 So they never fully sold, but something did happen. Evolved over time, marked by several key actions and statements. 2021 announcement revealed it had invested 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, which was wow, crazy, which was approximately 43,000 Bitcoin at the time. 43,000 would have been $4 billion. Okay, today, citing the cryptocurrency's long-term potential, the move was seen as a significant endorsement of Bitcoin by a major corporation. That's more than El Salvador. That's more than Bhutan. I'm actually curious how much Michael Saylor owns, or how much MicroStrategy owns. MicroStrategy is getting close to 1 million or something. Let's see. Significant endorsement of Bitcoin by a major corporation. Shortly after the investment announcement, Tesla began accepting Bitcoin as a payment for its vehicles, further promoting. Musk announced that the company would suspend vehicle purchases using Bitcoin due to concerns over the environmental impact of mining, particularly its reliance on fossil fuels. This decision was widely discussed in the community, leading to a significant drop in Bitcoin's price. That kind of makes sense because he is building EVs, which is all about moving away from fossil fuels. But now you introduce your payment method, which requires a lot of fossil fuels. But now they will be losing out on a lot of that growth in their portfolio. Sale of holdings. In the second quarter, Tesla disclosed it had sold 75%, makes sense, 75%, converting them into 936 million cash amid a crypto market downturn. This was done without much fanfare from Elon Musk, who has historically been vocal about cryptocurrency. Holding steady. Tesla has maintained its remaining Bitcoin holdings were unchanged at 12,000, valued at approximately 765 million. Holding rather than further selling or investing. Transferring its entire Bitcoin balance to new wallets, which initially sparked speculation about potential sales. However, these were confirmed to be internal wallet rotations rather than sales, with the Bitcoin still under Tesla's control. Notable movements of the Bitcoin, like transferring its entire Bitcoin balance to new wallets in October 24, which initially sparked speculation about potential sales. However, these were confirmed to be internal wallet rotations rather than sales. Maybe better security measures. Initial investment and acceptance as payment were bullish signals. Speculation on strategy, particularly whether it will resume accepting Bitcoin for payments or further adjust its holdings. Summary: aggressive initial investment to diversify its cash reserves, adoption of Bitcoin payments for a brief period, reversal due to environmental concerns, a more cautious approach. Really cool. All right, let's see. How much Bitcoin does MicroStrategy hold? I'm guessing 100K. Let's see. Oh, wow. 400K. 400. That is crazy. December 9, MicroStrategies acquired 21,000 for 2.1 billion and now holds a total of 400K. 2% of Bitcoin supply secured. now holds 190,000, worth 8.2. Anyone short MSGR will be left behind. If Sailor bought 33,000 coins or more, MSGR will own 2% of the entire supply. Let's see. Is it better to hold MSGR or is it better to hold BTC directly? I think the only difference over here is that when you hold MSGR, you're kind of holding an ETF fund through the normal mechanisms of your investment portfolio. But when you hold BTC, you have to kind of learn about this entire concept of holding a crypto in a wallet, having private keys, making sure it's multi-signature, taking care of its security. So it just introduces more security measures if you want to be safe, because at the end of the day it's such a important asset today that okay, it's actually cool. So this guy's making a case for it, so we'll see what are the different what are the differences. Investment goals, risk tolerance, and how each asset behaves in the market. Leverage. MSGR often acts as a leveraged play on Bitcoin, right? Historically, MSGR stock prices moved more than 2-3 times the percentage change in Bitcoin's price during bullish markets, offering potentially higher gains if Bitcoin increases in value. Tax benefits. Right. For some investors, certain types of accounts like IRAs or 401ks might offer tax advantage not available with direct Bitcoin ownership. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Ideally, MSGR would have invested a lot in their security because now they know that MSGR is being owned by institutions and they have to kind of provide a lot of compliance and legal things to the institutions that hey, your Bitcoin is safely secure with us and we'll make the right decisions. We'll make sure we keep and but they keep having the leverage effect where they keep buying, loaning out more money to buy Bitcoin. Let's see. I actually don't know why people trust this method or this mechanism. Dividend potential. While MicroStrategy has not traditionally paid dividends, there's always the possibility of future profit distribution from its business operations or Bitcoin holdings. I don't think business operations matter anymore. Okay. Corporate strategy. Under Michael Saylor's leadership is heavily focused on accumulating Bitcoin, which could lead to an increase in Bitcoin per share over time. Right. Right. Disadvantages. Volatility. MSTR can be more volatile than Bitcoin itself due to its leverage effect, meaning potential for higher losses during downturns. Operational risk. MSTR has business risk beyond just Bitcoin holding, like debt management, operational costs, and market perception of its software business. Premium to NAV. Trades at a premium to its net asset value, which is largely based on its Bitcoin hold. This premium can collapse, leading to significant price corrections. It trades at a premium to its net asset value, which is largely based on its Bitcoin holdings. Yeah, we need to understand this. Why? What is causing this premium to net asset value? Counterparty risk. You are not directly owning Bitcoin, but shares in a company that owns Bitcoin, which involves trust in their management and security practices. Exactly. Holding BTC directly. Advantages. You own the actual currency, providing freedom to use for transactions, stored in self custody for security, or hold it indefinitely. Right? No counterparty risk. You don't rely on a company's operational success. Your risk is tied solely to Bitcoin's market performance, global liquidity. The market is highly liquid across various platforms, making it easier to buy or sell at any time. Potential for deflation. It can act as a hedge against inflation, potentially increasing in value over time. That's shared. Disadvantage. Regulatory uncertainty, subject to evolving regulations which might impact its use or taxation, right? Security. You're responsible for securing your Bitcoin, which means managing private keys, protecting against hacks, and understanding wallet security. Volatility, right? No leverage. You won't benefit from the same leverage effect that MSTR provides, potentially capping your gains in a bull market. Investment considerations, risk tolerance. If you're comfortable with higher volatility for potentially higher returns, MSTR might be attractive. If you prefer to own the asset directly with less operational risk, holding BTC might be better. More returns, MSTR. If you want direct ownership, BTC. Investment horizon. Long-term believers in Bitcoin might prefer holding BTC directly, while those looking for amplified short to medium-term gains might lean towards MSTR. It seems like MSTR is like a much easier way just to get in, and once you are really orange pilled, then you are like, no, why? If the goal of Bitcoin was freedom, owning your currency, then I should be owning the currency. I should be owning it directly. I shouldn't have any middleman, because MSTR is a middleman. So what MSTR is kind of doing is improving the accessibility of holding the Bitcoin, making sure you are not losing out, quickly doing it from your Robinhood app or Wealthsimple app. But once you are orange pilled, once you really understand what is happening over here, you really understand the implications of Bitcoin and everything, then you're like, wait, the concept of Bitcoin was to own it directly, own a currency and own your freedom. So I should be removing, cutting out this middleman and going towards direct ownership. And that would be the ideal goal. Tax and legal environment. Your decision might also depend on local tax laws and regulations regarding cryptocurrency and stock investment. Diversification is a priority. Holding both could provide exposure to the performance with different risk profile. Holding both is a good idea. Holding both is always a good idea. What I had a thought in mind. Yes, premium to NAV. Let's see. Why exactly does MSTR price have a premium to NAV? Basically, what's happening is that Bitcoin price and MSTR, they don't operate at the same price. For some reason, there's a premium in MSTR. So which means if today Bitcoin is priced at $100, if it rises to $100, MSTR would rise to $105. So I'm trying to understand, why is there a difference? Stock price to net asset value leverage. Right. So they use debt and equity to buy more Bitcoin than it could with its cash reserves alone. Okay. Right. So we also want to check out, like, is their software business like shut down? Are they just doing Bitcoin? Is it just an investment firm now, or is the business still running? So we'll check into that as well. Essentially providing investors with leveraged exposure to Bitcoin's price movements. When Bitcoin goes up, MSTR's stock price often increases by a higher percentage due to this leverage. Okay. It uses debt and equity to buy more Bitcoin than it could with its cash reserves alone, essentially providing investors with leveraged exposure to price movements. Okay. Accretion. Consistently buys more Bitcoin, consistently buys more Bitcoin, increasing the amount of Bitcoin per share over time. This strategy can lead to expectations of future value growth, which is not captured by the current NAV calculation. Investor enthusiasm. There's a strong narrative around MSTR as the Bitcoin treasury stock, with Michael Saylor's public advocacy for Bitcoin adding to its allure. This enthusiasm can drive the stock price higher than its NAV. Some investors see MSTR as a way to bet on the future price without buying Bitcoin directly, leading to a speculative demand that can inflate the stock price. Bet on the future price without buying Bitcoin directly, leading to a speculative demand that can inflate the stock price. Right. Kind of understand that. Software business. Although the primary focus is on Bitcoin, MSTR still generates revenue from its enterprise software business, which provides a cash flow to support Bitcoin purchases and debt servicing. Okay. So they use that cash flow to buy, and then they know that this cash flow is not enough. So hey, let's take on more debt and use that to buy more Bitcoin. That is always the goal. Okay. This operational aspect might contribute to the premium as it adds a layer of business stability. Unique investment vehicle. MSTR offers a unique way to invest in Bitcoin through a traditional stock market structure, which can be attractive to institutional or retail investors who might not directly invest in cryptocurrency due to regulatory or operational constraints. Right, right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Just holding Bitcoin directly is hard. So rather go with things that you already know. You already know a packaged ETF kind of thing, which is MSTR, through a traditional stock market structure, which can be attractive to institutional or retail investors who might not directly invest in cryptocurrency. Liquidity. MSTR is more liquid and accessible to investors than direct Bitcoin investment for some, especially in traditional investment accounts where direct crypto holding might not feel available. Right, right, right. It also kind of makes sense, right? Like if you are kind of like a trader, then you have now everything in one screen. You have like all your traditional Magnificent Seven, Google, Facebook, and then you are like, oh, MSTR, just compile everything. So everything works together in that same interface, let's say. But if you do direct ownership, now you have to like go through Coinbase wallet, which is like totally different. Short squeeze potential. High short interest in MSTR at times has led to short squeezes where the stock price rises rapidly as short sellers cover their positions, further pushing the price above NAV. Future expectation, anticipation. Investors might be pricing in future growth of Bitcoin's value, which would increase MSTR's NAV in the future, justifying current premium. There's an expectation that MSTR might continue to innovate or alter its strategy in ways that could benefit shareholders, like potentially lending Bitcoin or other yield generating activities. Hmm. MSTR is a way to gain Bitcoin exposure without the regulatory complexities of holding crypto directly, especially in regions with stringent crypto laws. I think this is the biggest thing. Like if you are in a country, if you reside in a place where the laws are just not clear, they are super vague about Bitcoin and the taxation and what exactly is the transaction fees and stuff like that. The just private keys. Private keys is the most important thing. It doesn't even matter if you made a good investment if someone just steals that investment from you because they know your private key. That is the biggest thing, biggest problem over there. Okay, what? Hmm. Tell me more about micro strategies, software business, and how much cash flow does it generate? Primarily known for its enterprise analytics and mobility software, which has been core business since its founding in 1989. MicroStrategy One, flagship platform combining data analytics, data visualization, and business intelligence tools, allows companies to analyze large data sets, create dashboards, and support decision making with predictive analytics. Decision making with predictive analytics. Hyperintelligence, a feature that embeds analytics directly into business applications, providing contextual insights without the need to switch context. Okay, really cool. So you're competing with Microsoft BI, you're competing with a bunch of cloud platforms, even like Google, AWS. Hmm. MicroStrategy offers cloud-based version of its software, providing scalability and flexibility for businesses looking to leverage cloud computing for BI. Market position. Recognized as one of the leaders in business intelligence space. This is actually crazy. Nobody knows about their actual software business because the asset value has just dropped. Like it's like how much time does Michael Saylor focus on learning on Bitcoin, promoting Bitcoin versus on improving the business? Let's see. Recognized as one of the leaders in business BI space, competing with companies like SAP, IBM, Oracle, and new players like Tableau and Looker Google Cloud, a part of Salesforce, right? The clients include large enterprises across various industries such as finance, healthcare, retail, telecom, McDonald's, eBay, Pfizer, showcasing a strong presence among Fortune 500 companies. Okay. Software business generates revenue through software licenses, subscriptions, and professional services. The transition to a subscription based model has been noted as a key focus to ensure recurring revenue. Operating cash flow. Shown positive operating cash flows, for instance, Q3 2024, they reported a significant operating loss, which might be attributed to broader business strategy. Q3 2024, okay, just before September, okay, rather than the core software operations alone. Broader business strategy investments rather than the core software operations alone. However, this reflects on the overall company, not just the software segment, right? Right, SaaS. SaaS is just being like there's a bloodbath in SaaS world right now. The software business itself has been described as generating around 400 million per year in revenue, with some estimates suggesting operating income from the software business around 75 million annually. Hmm. MicroStrategy has taken on a considerable debt to fund its Bitcoin strategy, with interest payments being a significant cash outflow. Hmm. Interest payments is a cash outflow, taken on a lot of debt. Software businesses' cash flow is crucial for servicing its debt. Discussion. Hmm. So they first took on the debt just so that they can buy Bitcoin at this low price. And now all the money coming from the software business goes towards servicing the interest payments. Okay. Software business's cash flow is crucial for servicing this debt. Discussions around its ability to cover these interest payments have been prominent, with some suggesting that even with the software business's revenue, there might not be much room for error. Right, right. They are operating at a very thin line where this business needs to keep running. They need to keep generating cash somehow so that they can keep servicing this debt. But SaaS model, like companies are getting smart, AI is being deployed. They can do a lot of these BI stuff with very cheaper tools. They might not need MicroStrategy one, and that might cut their cash flow, which might lead to them not being able to pay their payments, which might lead to what will happen then? Bank will just take away their bitcoins. Hmm. Challenges and considerations. Software business has been described as bleeding due to losses in specific quarters, which could be linked to broader corporate strategy, including investments in Bitcoin and other ventures. The core business still holds value and generates cash, albeit with fluctuating profitability. Hmm. They might start doing something like lending on Bitcoin. They would start playing with Bitcoin. They would start playing with Bitcoin. I think, yeah, it shouldn't be a big loss because they bought a lot of Bitcoin. They took a certain amount of loan. Obviously, the current portfolio, the current value of that Bitcoin is way more than the debt they took. So they definitely won't be losing a lot. They did get the best store of value. They did accumulate the best store of value, and their asset did appreciate. Okay. However, the core business still holds value and generates cash, albeit with fluctuating profitability. There's debate on whether the focus on Bitcoin has affected the software business's growth or investor perception of it, with some arguing that the software business is vital for funding Bitcoin purchases, but might not be expanding as rapidly as it could under different circumstances. You're definitely competing with the big names. You're competing with Tableau by Salesforce. You're competing by Google Cloud. You're competing with AWS. So it's a hard place to hard market to compete in. Let's see. MicroStrategy made 2.5 billion Bitcoin. The software business makes 50 million a year. So betting on BTC has paid off 50 years of cash flow so far. When Bitcoin is 100K, it's over 200 years. Right, right, right. They made 2.5 billion on Bitcoin. The business makes 50 million a year. They can service the debt. They can service the debt by just selling some of that Bitcoin, and they're done. Okay, let's see. But their goal is to keep accumulating. So where do they generate cash flow? This is very interesting. Like, how will they generate cash flow? If the goal is to keep accumulating Bitcoin, how do you get the cash to buy Bitcoin? What are some Interesting quotes from Michael Saylor. Let's see. Bitcoin is an arc of encrypted energy to escape the currency flood. Bitcoin is an arc of encrypted energy to escape the currency flood. Paints Bitcoin as a safe haven from the devaluation of traditional currencies due to inflation. Bitcoin is the first software network capable of storing all the monetary energy in the world with no loss of power over time and negligible transmission loss. Hmm. He's kind of talking about like when you are using like this happens in India when you use your currency notes, it is exchanging a lot of hands. Sometimes the note no longer it tears up, there's wear and tear, and it no longer is an acceptable legal tender just because people just don't want uh, a bad looking currency note and then you are losing stuff like that in transmission. Potential is a revolutionary technology for managing value over time. Hmm. The destiny of money is to be encrypted. The destiny of money is to be encrypted. His belief in the future of digital currencies and the inevitability of money moving towards encrypted forms. The destiny of money is to be encrypted. Bitcoin is the most efficient system in the history of mankind for channeling energy through time and space. Yeah, this is cool. Most efficient system in the history of mankind for channeling energy through time and space, emphasizing Bitcoin's role in the efficient transfer and storage of value. Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on. Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, faster, and stronger behind a wall of encrypted energy. Bro, this guy reads a lot of like European like history and stuff. Where is this coming from? A lot of philosophy, a lot of art and poems. There's a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, faster, and stronger behind a wall of encrypted energy. One of his more poetic descriptions, this quote illustrates the complex, dynamic, and secure nature of Bitcoin. Digital property and is going to be adopted as a store of value in every nation that allows citizens to own private property. Predicts widespread adoption of Bitcoin as a recognized asset class. All my best investments were in networks that everyone needed. No one could stop and few understood. Bitcoin is the monetary network. Were networks that everyone needed, no one could stop and few understood. Is he referring to Twitter over here, social network? Let's see. Investment philosophy and his view of Bitcoin's fundamental role in the future of finance. You will spend 40,000 hours of your life trying to make money. It's worthwhile to spend 100 hours figuring out how to keep it. Hmm. Advocating for understanding Bitcoin and other financial strategies to preserve wealth. The magic of Bitcoin isn't the magic of Bitcoin isn't the transfer of money to someone 10,000 miles away. It is the transfer of money to someone 10,000 days away. Bitcoin's potential for long-term value preservation. Hmm. Hmm. Right. I think this is where he's talking about transmission loss. That if you hold a lot of cash, if you hold a lot of USDC, you are losing out your money either on inflation, you are either just losing out because of wear and tear, and it's very hard to transfer that money like across borders. Hmm. I think this is the reason why he talks about time and space. Yeah. The magic of Bitcoin isn't the transfer of money to someone 10,000 miles away. It is the transfer of money to someone 10,000 days away. Wow. Because he's basically talking about that because Bitcoin is restricted to just 21,000 in circulation, there will o- there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, which basically means that after all the 21 million Bitcoins are out in the world in circulation, then inflation will drop, and then Bitcoin will reach a point, a, a mature value. There will be no volatility ever. There will be a mature price, and that's when inflation will stop. Let's see. This is very interesting to think about. Like, what will the future look like when 21 million Bitcoins will all be out in the world? They will be in circulation, and Bitcoin reaches the price is never volatile anymore. It reaches the appropriate price, the effective price, or whatever yeah, it reaches a mature price that, okay, now this is going to be priced like 13 million per coin. And then what would the world look like? Like, what will the world look like when Bitcoin reaches that point? Interesting. Bitcoin is money, everything else is credit. Succinct way of distinguishing Bitcoin from traditional financial instruments, suggesting its intrinsic value. Okay, very interesting. All right, that's the stream. Thank you.